Well, first of all, welcome to the show and thank you for making time for us. It's great to be chatting with you, mate.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me.
Goes without saying, I need to ask before we get started, how's your old man doing?
He's good. It's cancer's a brutal thing for anybody. As he said before, a lot of people have walked it, and it's his turn. But he's cancer free now, and he's at home grieving my mum, and yeah, all things are positive, mate. So
Amazing. That's fantastic to hear. It really, really is. I don't know if your brother told you, but I used to be your old local video store guy.
he did tell me,
You used to pop in all the time.
yeah.
Yeah. Back when you
Really?
had your dreads. I think you were with Nana's Army at that time.
Yeah, yeah, a long time ago. Long time ago. Different band, different hairstyle, different band now.
Yep, yep. Anyway, so it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
How has the whirlwind of press junkets and media engagements been? Is this a whole new thing for you?
Not really. Like, back in the day, I did a few movies, and I was in a movie called Queen of the Damned
Hmm.
in my 20s, and I was in another movie called Wild Girls with Olivia and her daughter.
Hmm.
Done a bit of press in the time, through bands and all that sort of stuff. So I
Yeah.
actually enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, who kind of doesn't, I guess.
Yeah, totally. When was the first time that you guys as a family saw the film? Was it at the premiere or before that?
Myself and my brother got an early screening at in Sydney up at the Sony offices, and we loved it.
Hmm.
Both him and I went in there ready not to tear shreds off it, but to sort of write some notes and just be prepared that it wasn't going to be true to life.
Hmm.
And within the first 5 minutes, I put my notes down and just enjoyed it because the director Poppy, she did such a great job. And it was true to life and real, and there was no bullshit in there, and it was just fantastic. I'm not a huge fan of music biopics. It's
Hmm.
not really my jam.
Yeah.
But I just thought that this was just so real, and it was great.
Yeah, it was. It's one of the highlights of the year for me. I was at that Astor screening and it just blew me away. In fact, your mum was sitting pretty much directly behind me and I could just feel the emotion coming off her. Like it was
Yeah, I
a it
don't
was,
I don't think she stopped crying through the whole thing. So, and that was the first time that she'd seen it. She
wow,
hasn't.
what an environment to see it in for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Dad hasn't even seen it to this day. Um, it's just not something that he would get across.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't like, excuse me, he doesn't like watching himself on TV or read any kind of article or anything. So
Yeah.
we'll have to force him to watch it. I don't think he's quite ready to watch it yet, just because there's his best mate Glenn,
Mhm.
obviously passed away, and it's a hard watch for him. And Olivia, she was really close to
Yeah.
our family, and he took her, passing really, really hard. So I just don't think he's quite ready to watch it yet.
Hmm.
Um, but we'll get him to watch it at some point.
That's fair enough too. But I can't imagine having not seen a film about you, but hearing the response from just the audience in general. The nation rallied behind this film, like it went gangbusters.
Yeah, it really did. I think it was the top. Oh, it's the highest grossing music documentary in Australia of all time,
Yep.
by miles. And I think it got in the top four or something for um, highest grossing documentaries in all genres or something.
It was up
Um,
there.
it kicked out the Beebs and a couple other notable documentaries. So it was pretty fantastic. And
Yeah.
look, our family didn't want to do it. Dad particularly didn't really want to do it. He's not really the type of person that thinks that he still gets shocked that people go to his shows.
Hmm.
But Glenn talked him into it, and here we are. And I think it was good. I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm glad they ended up doing it.
Yeah, for sure. And so you said that, your family didn't particularly want to do it in the first place. How involved were you once it got off the ground and was up and running?
We were kind of arm's length
Yeah.
a little bit, because you never know how this stuff's going to turn out. And it's always a little bit of a roll of the dice. Like you don't want to seem too, too dicky about it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of difficult. But because people have been starved, well, when I say people, Dad's fans have been starved for any sort of JF stuff for so long.
Mm.
Yeah, it was just accepted. There's a lot of people that have seen it, but I wouldn't have expected to see it. A lot of my friends who came with me onto the Sydney one and to the Melbourne one, they were in tears, and my bandmates and stuff, like they were crying, and just to see that was really special. And my socials, both my socials, Instagram and Facebook, like just lit up with people from all over the country and beyond. They're just amazing messages and
Yeah,
of
incredible.
support and love, and yeah, it was pretty special.
Very, very cool. As kids, we don't really know a lot about our parents, and granted that you guys have grown up surrounded by the entertainment world, and your dad's been in sort of the spotlight. Did you learn anything new about him watching this movie?
I didn't, because I'm a huge fan anyway.
Yeah.
And so when I got into music when I was like 15, like seriously got into music, I went through his back catalogue, found out all the things he did. Like, there's so much in the documentary that wasn't mentioned as well.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that he did in Los Angeles, for the Rad soundtrack.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, Break the Ice and Thunder in Your Heart, like that, and Playing the Wind. They're my favourite songs,
Yep.
And I would have loved to have heard Dad. I'm into heavy music, and I would have loved to have heard him sing for like Sabbath or something crazy like.
Yes.
He just has that crazy Dio voice kind of thing, and yeah, so I got right into sort of his back catalogue and his early days in his career and struggles. My brother, on the other hand, he didn't realise how tough it was for Dad to go from John to Johnny.
Yeah.
Johnny to John, sorry.
Yeah.
And I think because he was born in '88, I was born in '81. So our experiences with that whole situation is very different.
Sure.
I saw through some of the tough times when I was younger, and then just the escalation of when things went gangbusters for him. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, incredible. I'm gonna sort of lead with some. I'm gonna go with some lighthearted questions now as we sort of bring it towards an end. You mentioned the Rad soundtrack, and that is how your dad's song ended up in the Hot Rod movie back in the day.
Yeah.
How did you guys react to that being in there? Did you know it was going to be used like that?
No. So I was, where was it? So it's happened a couple of times to us actually. So that particular one, mum and dad like to watch random movies,
mm-hmm.
and I'd never seen it. And then Dad's watching this movie, and it's Adam Sandberg, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
And he called me. He's like, Robert. And I'm like, yeah, mate. And he's like, I'm just watching this movie, and the bloody song came on. And I'm like, obviously we watched it, and he had no idea. Another time it happened, I was, it's on a Family Guy episode, right? And I was like, not a huge Family Guy person, but I was watching it at home, and it was in the background. I was doing something on my laptop, and I heard ding 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 boom boom, and I'm like, what the hell? Like that's the Old Boy. And yeah, I had no idea, but that's publishing, and you know the rights to that song. So, but that was pretty trippy to hear.
Particularly the way it was used in Hot Rod, because it was like a monumental set piece.
Yeah,
and they played the song all the way through, pretty much.
I know. So yeah, that was a bit of a weird moment for him, for sure. But we, that sort of stuff. It's amazing to see that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I get super chuffed, and he must just be,
mm-hmm.
He was like, why? And I'm like, because it's a killer song, Dad. Like, you don't understand that, I think he's a singer's singer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, fans, he has a lot of fans too, but I think he's a singer's singer. You know how you have like Satriani and all that sort of stuff that are like guitarists.
Yep.
So I think he's that sort of internationally anyway, he's, people that are singers,
Yeah.
are into it kind of thing.
Awesome. One thing I've been very curious to know about is like your old man has in the last, maybe 15, 20 years been known as like the comeback king. Like, I'm wondering if that's been a running gag in your family, if it's something that you just fucking hate.
Look, it it's frustrating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's somewhat true,
Mhm.
and I think that's why it just stings a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? But a lot of things got blown out of proportion too.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, I don't know if you're a musician yourself, but you have your moments where you're like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Mhm.
And you get that fire in you again, and then you sort of turn it around. And it's the same with a musician of that caliber. It's like you get to a point where you're like, well, no one's gonna give a shit anymore.
Mm.
And then they do,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, fuck, I'm gonna head back out on the road again.
Yep.
So, and it's not because of financial reasons or any of that stuff. It's as a performer, it's what drives you. So
Completely. Can't shake it.
no, you really can't. And I mean, whenever I bring a friend over or, girlfriends or whatever like that, he's always on.
Yeah.
You walk in, he's always at the front door. He's like, "G'day, mate," and he's, and then he's, he's charming, he's funny. He is exactly what you think he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's very witty, he's very personable, he's charming, he's very funny. And he's pretty naughty too. So
that's so great to hear. It's so great to hear. And regardless of that, let's say reputation, like he packs a house. It's irrelevant ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have fire explosions. He doesn't have, any of the bullshit. It's just him with his band. And I think that his early career, when he was so engaging with the audience, he has that crooner kind of aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's very funny, he's very engaged with the audience, doesn't rely on a lot of the bullshit. And you don't get a lot of artists like that.
Yeah.
Where you're there to see the show, he kind of really draws you in. Like that stupid song, The Entertainer, he really just encapsulates that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm, for sure. Do you have a favorite song of his? It's probably the worst question I could possibly ask you. But
no, it's really not. I've got "Playing to Win" tattooed across my chest.
Amazing.
That's probably my favorite song, but it's so hard to pick. Like, there's that. There's "Burn For You's" beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I loved a lot of the LRB stuff. "Thunder in Your Heart" from the Rad soundtrack, "Break the Ice" from the Rad soundtrack. I like a lot of his upbeat, sort of heavier. Heavier.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Songs.
Yeah. The rock stuff.
Yeah, I think he's a great singer, just powerful singer. So
absolutely. You mentioned Little River Band there. Did you read last week they're doing a bloody biopic? The Little River Band. I couldn't believe it. Like, obviously riding the coattails of this doco or something, but that I'm not too keen to see, but it's gonna happen.
Oh, look, I think that LRB they were huge, man. And, even, look, Dad, I think, did a fantastic job when he was around. I mean, he didn't like it for various reasons. But, I mean, you can't deny the talent of that band.
Mm-hmm.
They had some amazing songs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible what that band has sort of descended into now. Like, it's this whole other thing. It's ridiculous.
It's bad, but you just listen to the vocals. Like nowadays, you got Pro Tools with auto tune and you can really clean shit up. They didn't have any of that.
Yeah,
and that era is just, they have amazing harmonies.
Yes, for sure.
So I don't begrudge him doing that, like, at all. I mean, I'd definitely go and see it for sure.
Well, I'll probably have to. Oh, whatever it is, it will be. But I'm going to leave you with a funny story. Where I grew up, I lived right behind your dad's recording studio, and I used to sneak up to the windows and watch them record. Right, and he was recording with Richard Marx, and
that's Steiner.
Yeah,
I
lived in the estate behind it, Warren.
Right.
And he caught me at the window and he just gave me the thumbs up, and like it was the best thing ever. It was the best thing ever. It's a teenager back then, but yeah, good times, mate. But your dad is an exceptional human being, an incredible musician and vocalist, and it's been an honor to talk about him with you. And thanks so much for giving us the time.
I appreciate it, mate. Anytime, and thanks for the chat.